Joel Sternfeld, Walking the High Line. It's a really interesting book, this. It's one of them photography books which is absolutely packed full of information which about something you actually wouldn't really know about. And it's a sort of like a really informative essay visually and in written text on something. And having been and worked in New York, I actually didn't really pay much attention to, but I've sort of learned something about New York which I had no idea. It's about the High Line, and it was a derelict space, a transit route, a transport route in New York, which was used in, I think, in the industrial and freight and economic side, and then became a bit obsolete. And there's now a regeneration program involved where it involves a lot of New York City people and communities to do something with this High Line. But I'm going to show you some of it. And I think with this book, it's actually one of them books which you sort of start at the back, because I'll show you in a minute. Hang about. Let me just measure it. It is 10.5 by 9.5, which again I'll put an A4 down. You can see the sort of shape it is against an A4. It's just quite is it a weird size? I'm not really sure. It's an interesting, nice size though. I do like it because I think this size almost lends itself to good 5:4 style negatives. And to be honest, Joel, I am not sure if you're shooting this on 5:4, but I presume by the quality of some of it, the quality of these, this is 5:4. This is the High Line, the route, I presume, from 12th to 34th, I think, to Gainsvoet of Roort Street, which is 13th or 12th, and I don't know how that, 12th on 12th, isn't it? I'm not really sure. Yeah, but as I said, this is a sort of book you start at the back because it sort of gives you an idea of the timeline of the High Line, and I'm wondering if that should have been the front, but I see why it wasn't. It's interesting that they make the picture, that you look at the pictures first, and then you get an idea of the High Line timeline. So I'm going to brief on it quickly. We've got before the High Line in 1847. There were street level railroad tracks from the west side of Manhattan, which later becomes the Central Railroad, which served the factories and the warehouses. And I think they were on the waterfront, all the trading areas. And I think there were so many accidents around there that they actually even had cowboys bringing in the trains, but they decided that it was safer to take it up a level, and that then became the sort of trade route, I think, from the shipyards and outside of New York in and around the area without affecting people on the ground level. I said $150 million in 1930 dollars. That would be £2 billion today. Wow. So 1929, 1934, Lifeline of the New York. It opens to trains, so I guess it was just freight, maybe wagons and stuff like that. 50s and 60s, so it didn't have that long really. 50s and 60s, 25 years, something. It became sort of the interstate highway sort of declined it by the looks of this, and then so this southernmost section was demolished. In the 80s it became a sort of greenery, grass and wildflower were carried in from the wind, and they started sort of developing it. In 1979, Stephen Hull developed architecture and building flats around the High Line level, so that's interesting. 80s, early advocacy, so selling off the land And okay, I won't go too far into that. You need to, you know, Peter Ublitz, original advocate outside the Pullman train car he occupied. Okay, interesting. Friends of the Highline, so I think becoming more publicly aware. Joel Sternfeld's shooting, yeah, he's on medium format. 10.854. Yeah, so he shot this 2000. The demolition order, the I've gone New York Mayor round of Giuliani and accident legislation Highline. So there was a massive challenge. He wanted to get rid of it, and the people didn't. New York City policy, and then assessment, rail banking, Rail Federal Surface Transmission Board allowed the line to be preserved. Brilliant, 2002. So the preservation, and then the whole, I think, bringing it back to the communities, getting people involved. This is an amazing story, and something which has been turned around into something positive with the community aspect of it is brilliant. Design, preliminary design, trail lease agreement, 2006 construction begins. Do you know, I've never been in here to New York. I know New York. I mean, I can say I knew New York, and I've never really even known about this. How interesting. Site preparation, landscape construction, planting. So it's become a conservation thing. Wow. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that totally great that it's become something which people can use and bringing some greenery back? It's like the Friends of the Highline transitions from the advocacy organisation to a conservancy. Working in partnership with New York City Department, Parks and Recreation, the non-profit who is responsible for raising funds for and carrying out the day-to-day maintenance and operation of the Highline. How cool is that? So here's Friends of the Highline, stuff like that. So we get that. It's a really interesting thing. An essay by Adam Gopnik, The Allure of the Derelict Railroad Track in Spring. And there's a lovely opening line which I'm just going to mention because I'm not going to let you see all the text. High is to New York what wet is to Venice. Say no more. Then there is some text by John Stilgoe, steganography. Wow, that is a word. I'm going to have to say it again. Steganography, I'm getting there, photographed. How interesting. Discovered deliberately here, gaze up and around before the climb, then look out and around before chiefly along the sinuous ribbon so difficult to designate. Beautiful. So that's a big essay by him. So here's some of Joel's pictures. I think that's why we're here. I'm going to show you a few. I think if you want to find out more about this and get involved with it, I think it's really an interesting book to go and have a look at. Beautifully lit. It's got a lovely texture. It's got a really thick page texture to this. It's almost like, I don't know what the paper is. I need to find out. It's got a real vibe about the paper. I love it. You don't often get that. Almost like a nylon. Almost like a different fabric to paper. I don't know what it is. It's gorgeous. And anyway, so here's some of the shots showing the track, the greenery. I'm sure there was a documentary made on Joel Sternfeld. If I can find it, I'll put the YouTube link on. I'm sure there was a story on this. I'm just showing you. I'm missing pictures out here, so we're already on page 11. This is amazing. This must be great for the bees and things, and you know, your New York pollen, your New York bees, based on the Highline Bee Company. So I'm giving somebody a trade name here. If there is a Highline Bee Company, I've just promoted you. If there isn't, and somebody decides to do it after October the 1st, 2018, I thought of it first, so I'll have a 10% share. Anyway, I'm waffling away. Look at that. Looks like almost like a fire in that building there. I don't know if you can see that. But anyway, I've skimmed through. I'm on page 23. So some beautiful shots. There's a lovely tone to it. The paper itself is so lovely. It goes all the way through. It's got this thick, coarse edge to it. Anyway, some nice shots. Very simply done. Very, I don't know if it's done in the after post-production side, but there's almost like a golden hour feel to the lighting. And as you can see, if you look at it, and I'm gonna skim some. There's that same, and what a lot of photographers do, they tend to shoot at the same times of light. They don't. He's not mixing the lighting conditions. There's an obvious light, sunlight coming in somewhere because there's just a little extra contrast and lift on the green, but you can use some shadow. But you can see he's shooting at a certain time of day, a certain light. He wants to get it. A lot of other photographers do that. Simon Roberts does that. Mark Power does that. That's two. And Joel's obviously doing that as well. There's a lot of other people. But yeah, I wanted to show you. I'm going to put the link for Joel's website. I will try and find a documentary. I'll put a link for Steidl, because Steidl do some great books as well. So, yeah, go and buy it. Have a look at it. It's a really good book for some pointers on some landscape documentary and something informative if you're thinking of doing a project yourself and you want some ideas of looking in the history, getting other people to write an essay and just doing some landscape photography on something informative in near to where you live. It's a really good research base and a research starter for your work. Thank you.